Fear is often about scale. A spider in the bathtub is startling. A spider the size of a dinner plate is terrifying. But a spider the size of a car is something the human brain struggles to process. Yet, in the deep waters surrounding the islands of Japan, this biological impossibility is not a nightmare. It is a neighbor. The Japanese spider crab is the king of the crabs, a title held not by aggression, but by sheer, overwhelming reach. The journey to find this creature begins at the surface, where the fishing boats bob in the rough swells of the Pacific. But the destination is far below, down the continental slope, past the shelf where the light turns to a bruised purple and then fades to black. 500 meters down, the temperature drops to near freezing. The pressure builds until it feels like a truck is parked on every square inch of space. This is the twilight zone, and this is where the giants live. The ocean floor here is not sand. It is a thick, silty mud, a graveyard of organic debris that has drifted down for centuries. Walking here is difficult. A heavy animal would sink, getting stuck in the sludge. This is the first clue to the nightmare design. The mud shifts slightly. A long, thin shadow detaches itself from the darkness. It looks like a bamboo stalk made of calcified bone. It is orange and white, knobby and rough. It is a leg, and it keeps going. The leg connects to a body that seems comically small in comparison. The carapace is heart-shaped, covered in bumps and ridges, looking like a piece of ancient eroded rock. But the legs are the main event. They stretch out, spanning 12 feet from tip to tip. This is not just long. It is architectural. The creature stands high off the seafloor, suspended on these stilts like an alien tripods from a science fiction invasion. Evolution does not make mistakes. It does not waste energy on flair. Every inch of that leg length is a calculation based on survival. In the deep, food is scarce. A meal might drop once a month or once a year. To survive, an animal needs to cover ground. But moving a heavy body through water takes energy. This is where the long legs become a stroke of genius. The crab does not scuttle rapidly like its beach cousins. Its strides dot with legs this long. A single step covers massive distance. It is a slow-motion gait, a rhythmic, hydraulic movement. The crab plants one claw tip into the mud, acting as a pivot point, and swings its body forward. It is effortless. It is the ultimate energy-saving mode. By being big, by having that massive stride, it burns fewer calories per meter than a smaller crab would. It is the marathon runner of the abyss, designed to walk forever until it finds something dead to eat. The environment is hostile. The cold is biting. But this cold is the second reason for the size. It is a phenomenon called deep-sea gigantism. In the cold, cells grow larger. Metabolism slows down. Life stretches out. This crab can live for a century. Think about that. A creature crawling in the dark today might have been born before the First World War. It has walked the bottom of the ocean while humanity invented flight, went to the moon, and invented the internet. And all that time, it just kept walking. The texture of the crab is hideous and fascinating. The exoskeleton is not smooth. It is an armor plating, thick enough to withstand the crushing pressure of the deep. But it is also a garden. This creature is a decorator, to blend in, to hide from the few predators that could threaten it, like giant octopuses. The crab picks up sponges, kelp, and other small sea creatures. It sticks them to its shell. It wears the environment. It becomes a walking reef, a jagged pile of ocean debris that just happens to have eyes. Speaking of eyes, they are small, beady, and stalked. They don't need to see much. In the dark, vision is secondary. The crab relies on touch and smell. The tips of those nightmare legs are sensitive. They tap the mud like a blind man's cane, searching for the texture of carrion. A dead fish, a sunken squid, a whale carcass. Let's visualize a feeding event. A dead shark has settled on the silt. It is being picked at by hagfish, those slimy, eel-like scavengers. Then the legs appear. They step over the hagfish, indifferent to the chaos. The crab settles over the carcass like a cage. The chellops, the claws, are not massive crushing weapons like a lobster's. They are long, slender tools, like chopsticks made of bone. The crab reaches down with surgical precision. It picks a piece of meat from the bone and brings it to the mouth parts. The movement is delicate, almost polite. There is no frenzy, just the slow, methodical consumption of the dead. The scary part is the strength hidden in that delicacy. Those long arms have leverage. If a diver were to get too close and the crab felt threatened, the clamp of that claw is strong enough to break a finger, maybe a wrist. But they are not aggressive hunters. They are the janitors, the undertakers. They clean up the mess that the ocean makes. The life cycle of this beast contains a scene of true body horror. Like all crustaceans, to grow, it must molt. It must crawl out of its own skin. Imagine the energy required to pull a 4-meter leg out of a 4-meter shell, like pulling a wet foot out of a tight boot, but multiplied by 10. The crab finds a quiet spot. The back of the shell splits open. Slowly, painfully, the animal extracts itself. When it emerges, it is soft. The hard armor is gone. It is a gelatinous, vulnerable red blob. For a few days, the king is helpless. If a predator finds it now, it is game over. It pumps water into its body to swell up, making the new shell larger than the old one. It sits in the dark, waiting for the armor to harden, waiting to become the tank again. The discarded shell sits nearby, a perfect, ghostly replica of the living animal. Staring blankly into the water-dot surface interaction is rare but traumatic. Sometimes, these crabs venture into shallower waters to breed. This is when they encounter the human world. A fisherman pulls up a net. It feels heavy, dead weight. As the net breaks the surface, the tangle of legs spills out. It looks like a puzzle of bones. On the deck of a boat, the crab is a monster. It is out of its element. Gravity, which it defied underwater, now crushes it. The legs are too heavy to lift. They break. The animal collapses under its own magnificence. It is a sad sight, a king dragged out of his castle and crushed by the air. But in the water, the grace returns. The video shifts to a view of the crab navigating a rocky underwater canyon. The currents here are strong, ripping through the gaps in the rocks. A smaller animal would be swept away. The spider crab hunkers down. It spreads its legs wide, creating a wide base of stability. The water flows over the aerodynamic shell. It is anchored. The physics of the design are perfect. It is built for a world we cannot survive in. Without machines. There is a myth that they eat drowning sailors, that they wait for shipwrecks to feast on the crew. While purely folklore, the biology makes it plausible. To a scavenger, meat is meat. The crab does not distinguish between a tuna and a tourist. It just knows protein. It just knows survival. That cold, unfeeling efficiency is what makes it scary. It doesn't hate you. It just recycles you. The exoskeleton is often covered in barnacles, ancient hitchhikers that have been along for the ride for decades. This adds to the ancient aesthetic. It looks like a moving rock formation. When it stops moving, it disappears. You could be swimming right next to one in the gloom and mistake it for the seafloor until the floor stands up and looks at you. The mating ritual adds another layer of weirdness. The males are larger, with longer claws. They carry the females, protecting them during the molting phase when they are fertile. It is a surprisingly tender act for a creature that looks like a biological weapon. They hold each other, belly to belly, floating in the void. A brief moment of connection in a lifetime of solitude. Let's focus on the joint mechanism. The knees of the crab. They articulate backwards, looking broken to the human eye. They possess a hydrostatic pressure system that helps them move. It is hydraulic power. The crab is essentially a piece of heavy machinery. It pushes against the water. The silence of the movement is the most unnerving part. A 12-foot creature should make a noise. It should stomp. But it is silent, ghostly. The Japanese spider crab challenges our definition of monster. Usually, monsters are fast, with big teeth and roaring voices. This monster is slow. It has small pincers. It is silent, but it is terrifying because it is so alien. It represents a timeline where vertebrate animals with backbones like us are not the dominant design. It represents the triumph of the bug. If you shrink a human down and put them in a garden spider's web, it is a horror story. The ocean just did the opposite. It blew the spider up to human size and put it in the water. And it works. It works so well that the design hasn't changed in millions of years. Why fix what isn't broken? The final scene focuses on the face of the crab. The mouth parts are complex, a set of multiple mini arms and filters that constantly twitch and move, tasting the water. The eyes stare blankly. It turns slowly, sensing a vibration in the distance. Another meal has fallen. The legs lift, one by one, with agonizing slowness. The creature begins the long, silent march into the dark. It is a reminder that the deep ocean is not a place for frantic activity. It is a place for patience. And nothing is more patient or more permanent than the nightmare legs of the spider crab.